بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. And we are continuing with our Quran analysis study of Surah Al-Mulk. And last time we had done the explanation up to ayah number 23. So inshallah today we'll begin the explanation from ayah number 24, inshallah up to number 27, so that we can balance it nicely, because in Nahu and Sarf we are remaining with ayah number 28 to 30. So we'll have like two more classes to do the Nahu and Sarf and then the explanation, and we'll be done with the entire surah. And of course we have that special class after it, after the entire thing, just to show how the surah is organized structurally, thematically, and all the juices, the gems of the surah, inshallah. So yeah, that's what we have left as far as Surah Al-Mulk is concerned. Okay, so let's begin. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. First of all, in ayah number 23, Allah said, قل هو الذي أنشأكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون. Say, so the Prophet is being addressed here. Tell them, the Prophet ﷺ is being told, هو الذي أنشأكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار. Allah is the one who brought you to being. Allah is the one who created you and brought you to maturity. وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة. And He created for you your hearing and your sight and your hearts with which you sense things with, or with which you have emotions. قليلا ما تشكرون. How little, how ungrateful, how little thanks you show, how little gratitude you show. And we also discussed, this statement, قليلا. Ibn Ashur mentions that it could almost mean not at all. You don't do it at all. Yeah. So today we're going to start with, again, the Prophet is being addressed. قل هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض وإليه تحشرون. Say to them, the Prophet is being told, He is the one, Allah is the one who ذرأكم, spread you, populated you, aged you. Right? We will talk about the meanings of ذرأ. في الأرض, He's the one who spread you on the earth. وإليه تحشرون, and you should be gathered before Him. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. And what is their response after you tell them this? After the Prophet ﷺ is being told, go and tell them that Allah is the one who created you and He's the one who spread you all over the earth, and you have all whatever you have. And remember, your destination is with Allah. They return back and say, ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. When is this so-called promise, if in fact you were truthful? Then the Prophet ﷺ again is being told, قل, say, إنما العلم عند الله وإنما أنا نذير مبين. The knowledge is with Allah. And we shall talk about, they ask about the knowledge of the promise, but then Allah says, knowledge is with Allah. So we'll talk about what is this knowledge, right, that is being mentioned here, or how can we understand the knowledge is with Allah. وَإِنَّمَا أَنَا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. And I am nothing but I am only a clear warner. I'm just here to warn you, the Prophet ﷺ is being told to say. And then in ayah number 27, فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ زُلْفَةً سِيئَتْ وُجُوهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. فَلَمَّا, when رَأَوْهُ, we shall talk about why رَأَوْهُ is ماضي. When they saw it, no, the day of judgment is going to come later. The promise will come later. So when they will see it, but it's the madi that is used. So we'll talk about this. فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ زُلْفَةً, when they see it up close, when they see it approaching and it's very near. سِيئَتْ وُجُوهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Their faces became gloomy. The faces of those who disbelieved, it turned sour and gloomy and grieved. وَقِيلَ, and it will be said, هَذَا الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ بِهِ تَدَّعُونَ. This is what you used to claim was false. This is what you used to call for. Tada'un has two meanings and two qira'at, as we shall see inshallah today. So that's the summary of what the ayah that we're going to cover. So let's begin. Let me make this bigger. Okay, there we go. Let me just close this. All right, so we had done the meaning of ansha'a. This is ayah number 23. Gratitude, qalilan, all this is ayah number 23. We're going to begin with ayah number 24. We are all spread out. Yeah. So هو الذي ذرأكم. So the meaning of ذرأ, that's where we're going to begin, inshallah. So, in fact, as we're sitting here in this gathering, we have people from different parts of the world. I myself are from Africa. We have other people from Africa as well. We have people listening in maybe from Malaysia, other people from the Indian subcontinent, other people from God knows where else. So we're all, and the people that are going to watch the recording, I don't know where they're from. They're from different places in the world. We're all spread out. So sometimes we get lost in our comfort zones that we don't realize that Allah is the one that spread us in the land. Like the where you're put right now, where you're listening this from right now. Allah is the one who put you there. You are where you are, not because you were just born there. Who decided that you will be born there? Who decided that your parents will move from wherever they moved to settle in that place, or your grandparents, or their parents before that? I just recently did tracing the DNA tracing uh, test, and I just, subhanAllah, it was so amazing. Like my ancestors, they traveled all over the place, like all over Africa, some from Arabia, some from even in the Indian Kush. I have some relatives from the Indian Kush. That was very fascinating. I thought this is really cool, right? So Allah is the one who spread. Allah inspired my great 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 grandfather to move from Afghanistan somewhere in the Kashmiri region to come all the way to East Africa, right? And then my other ancestors from, I don't know, South Africa and from other places, they moved all over Africa and we all met and they all met somewhere in East Africa. And Alhamdulillah, I was born years later, right? So Allah is the one who spread all of us in the earth. It When you think about this, when you realize that Allah is the one who put you there, Allah is the one who brought you where you are, it reframes your mind, knowing that I am where I'm meant to be. Allah decided that for me, especially for me, I am going to be born here. I am going to live here. And that is from His wisdom and from His knowledge. He is, after all aware, all knowledgeable. وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. We covered that before. He mentioned Allah is al-Latif. He is subtle in the way He does things, and He is all aware. Like, it's so subtle when you think about your roots. Like, we never even think about this. We just imagine, okay, I am, but where did your grandparents come from? Maybe they moved from a different city. Maybe they moved from a different country. Maybe I don't know what happened. Maybe they even moved from a different religion. Subhanallah, can you imagine? It's really amazing how Allah spread us in the land. When I was younger, or when I was really young, I used to wonder and really ask myself, like, why? Because I used to look at, Europe and America and all these other places, and I'd be like, I wish I was born there. Why am I born in Africa? Why am I born in Kenya? Or maybe if I'm born in Africa, maybe I wish I was born in a place like South Africa or some other place in Africa, right? So that's how I used to think when I was a kid. But because I felt underprivileged being born where I live. But as I grew a bit older and I started to appreciate Allah's wisdom and Allah's knowledge, and I started to learn more about Allah, and I got more exposure of what different parts of the world look like. Like, I traveled to different places and I started to appreciate my life more. And I realized, subhanAllah, I am exactly where I'm meant to be. This is where I'm meant to be. Allah put me here and I have a purpose for being here. But anyway, the point is, just because we are all spread all over the world, we might start to think, I mean, we're so all over the place. How can we be gathered in one plane? Like, we're so many, we're in very different places of the world. Some are in Australia, some are in, I don't know, somewhere in the mountains, somewhere in the desert, somewhere in Antarctica, very, very far places. How is Allah going to gather us in one plane? Right? We're so distant from each other and so widespread. And this was exactly the mentality of the mushrikun of Mecca. They couldn't see how a person from Persia, another person from Arabia, another person from China, another person from Africa, they all died and they become dust. Their bones are dried up. How are they going to be brought up together in one plane? Like, it didn't enter their brains. They couldn't fathom this. I wanted to give an example. Like, for example, if you spilled water on the ground, or like if it rained and then the water is absorbed in the ground, is it possible to gather it back in the same form? Like, you take the earth and you squeeze it and then you get pure water like it rained? Yeah. Maybe you can use, in our times, maybe you can use some scientific equipment and use, I don't know, some tools, some charcoal, and you try and purify the water. It's something. You can do something, right? But we're living in scientific times. The mushrikun of Makkah did not have this kind of exposure to knowledge. They didn't understand this. So to them, this was absurd. Like this was like, you're talking mythical, fantastical, magical type of thing that you're telling us that after I become dust and bones, that I'm going to be resurrected in my form and I'm going to breathe and talk and speak and see and touch and feel. Like it didn't make any sense to them, right? They couldn't see how a body buried in Sham, for example, decayed and turned to dust, another one in Yemen could be brought back to life. So they mocked the idea. And as we shall explain in the ayah that comes after this, they couldn't understand it, so they mocked it. They thought, oh, this is just fables. These are just stories. You're telling us stories. No way that can happen. So the Prophet ﷺ is told to tell them, قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي ذَرَأَكُمْ. Allah is the one who spread you in these different places. You think the one who actually spread you and diversified you and dispersed you to different places and populated you. Look at how many people we are in the world right now. 8 billion. Subhanallah. Allah is the one who at this very moment. We're not talking about throughout history. We don't know since Adam all the way to now how many people have walked this earth. We don't know. Subhanallah. And yet just now we have 8 billion. 8 billion. Allah is the one who populated you. Dhara'a could also mean populated you. So he spread you and populated you. You think that Allah is not capable of bringing you back? I mean, can't you just appreciate the fact that look at how diverse you are, how spread you are? You think Allah cannot do it again? Cannot bring you back and return you to the beginning of things? Didn't he already tell us in the beginning of this surah that first of all, he is plentiful? تبارك الذي بيده الملك. He is plentiful. You think he doesn't have the power to do that? وهو على كل شيء قدير. He is capable of doing everything. He is capable. He already explained that to you. This should not be a doubt in your mind right now. Because if you understand that Allah is plentiful, you understand that Allah is هو على كل شيء قدير. He is capable of everything. This cannot be a problem right now, especially towards the end of the surah. We already covered that. We already explained that. Why are you having this doubt right now? So you see why when Allah says, إِنِ الْكَافِرُونَ إِلَّا فِي غُرُورٍ, the disbelievers are in nothing but delusion. They are so immersed in their delusion that they cannot even see. They think that they're being logical, they're being smart by asking these questions, but they are so lost, so misguided. أَفَمَنْ يَمْشِي مُكِبًّا عَلَى وَجْهِهِ. They keep falling on their faces because they're so misguided, right? They cannot be more guided than the one who walks upright. Anyway, so this idea of Allah bringing you back is not hard for him at all. It's hard for me and you. Why? Because we are limited. But Allah is unlimited. هو على كل شيء قدير. He created, and in fact, He told us, He created death before life. You think when you die, He cannot create life again after death? He already told you that. الذي خلق الموت والحياة. Just because you think you're dead doesn't mean Allah cannot bring you back to life. He is the one who created death before life. He can do it again. Do you see the point? So, subhanallah, it's like these people had this entire surah and they missed the plot completely. They missed the point completely. They did not hear what Allah was saying in the beginning, in the first section, right? Anyway, so Allah is as if Allah is telling us that you think breathing life into your decayed bones is hard for him, when in fact he had already created you, he had already gave you life before death. Before life, before you were here, you were non-existent. You were in a state of non-existence. And then Allah breathed life and you became. Subhanallah. So you think replicating your DNA is going to be harder? I mean, he brought you from nothingness. That was harder. Creating something from nothingness is harder than replicating it. Replicating it is much easier, right? So how can you imagine that this is difficult for Allah, or it's even hard? For him For Allah, it's a matter of be, and it becomes. It's just a command. All Allah has to do is say be, and you become. He just has to give the command, right? And again, in the beginning, what did he tell us? He created the heavens in perfectly coordinated layers. الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا. Ask yourself, and we already covered this in the beginning. Are the heavens more difficult to create, or are you more difficult to create? And in fact, Allah answers this question in the Quran. He says the creation of the heavens is much more difficult than you. Can you imagine the seven heavens, as vast as they are, with all the different billions and trillions of planets? And we've only discovered 4% of the lowest heaven. Forget the seven heavens, just the lowest heaven. We can only see 5%, 4%. Subhanallah. That is a much difficult creation. And Allah did it in perfect, coordinated layers. You think you and I is difficult? We are nothing. هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض وإليه تحشرون. He's the one who dispersed you, and you will be gathered before him. Just don't think that because you're so spread all over the earth, it's so difficult for Allah to bring you back. No, it is not. إليه تحشرون. You will be gathered before him. Another meaning of ذرأ is to extend life, to spread the life in a way that you live longer, right? So you live longer. And when this word is used with the head, the word head, and for example, ذرأ الرأس, it comes with the meaning of aging. يعني the head has become white. That's what they would use the word ذرأ الرأس. The head has become white. In other words, you become old, become aged. Now, before this ayah, Allah says, هو الذي أنشأكم. He is the one who created you and brought you to maturity. Somebody might think, oh, is that the end? That's where Allah stops? No, هو الذي ذرأكم. He is the one who also ages you. So don't just think Allah stops when you become mature. No, He's also the one who sees you through maturity and through your old age. Yeah, so the idea of Dhara again completes the human cycle. It not only means to be spread and be populated on the earth, it also means to age and become old. Yeah, so he's still there, extending your life after maturity. And this is from the mercy of Allah again. He could have just caused us to die at maturity, because when you reach maturity, you're at an age of using your eyes. Because remember, هو الذي أنشأكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة. You are at an age of using your senses to seek guidance, right? At the age of maturity. And if you use your senses to find guidance, then alhamdulillah. If you use your senses to find misguidance, أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه, if you become of these people, then that should be the end of you. Allah could have just decided, okay, you reach the age of maturity. If you decide well, Jannah for you. If you decide take the wrong path, Jahannam for you. And the end of story. No. Allah's mercy. He gives you more life. He extends you. So you age a little bit more. And perhaps you develop some wisdom. Because they say wisdom comes with age, right? We associate wisdom with age, because the more you live, the more you see things, and perhaps your perspective changes. Subhanallah, how many stories have you heard of old people, really old people, like, I don't know, then they become Muslim at their old age? If this person died at their age of maturity, yani only Allah knows that this person at this particular age is where their heart is going to change. And so Allah extends your life, gives you more life. Subhanallah. So this is from the mercy of Allah, right? So how can you imagine the idea of this ayah is this Allah, the one who created you, the one who brought you to maturity, the one who extended your life to old age. You think he cannot, and the one who created life and death, you think he cannot bring you back and do the same over and over again. It's very easy for Allah. Okay, so this is the second understanding of this ayah. And it shows also that Allah knows our physical state, our physical manifestation. Like we are born, and then we grow to maturity, and then we age. That's how we are physically. And also our physical positions in the world. Like He's the one who spread us. So He knows our physical state, right? Which pairs very well, as we shall see, with what was mentioned before. He knows our internal state. ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير. إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. Allah is the one who knows what is in the chest, our internal state. So we see that Allah not only knows what goes on inside of us, He also knows what goes on outside of us. That completes again the knowledge of Allah. Do you see how beautiful it is? And when we come to the thematic structure of how this surah is organized, you will see that so beautifully. It is so beautiful that, subhanallah, this surah just has me like so mind blown. Anyway, so let's remember the flow of the surah so that we can see how the ayat are connected one to the other. Allah first of all told us, هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا, right? He's the one who tamed the earth for us. Then he told us, walk on it. Again, remember this word walk. Walk on it and seek rizq therein. Yeah? Not forgetting that Allah is the one who's providing for us. We're not the ones doing it. Allah is the one who's providing for us. Min rizqihi. وَكُلُوا min rizqihi. And eat from His provision, not your provision. It's Allah's, right? Then He indirectly told us how to walk. So He created where to walk, the earth. He made it dhalul. And then He told us, go and walk. But here's how you're going to walk. How did He tell us how to walk? أَفَمَنْ يَمْشِي مُكِبًّا عَلَى وَجْهِهِ أَهْدَى أَمَّنْ يَمْشِي سَوِيًّا عَلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. You better walk upright and you better walk on the straight path. Don't be like this other person who walks falling on their face, who walks looking down, and they don't want to listen. They don't want to use their eyes. They don't want to use their ears. They don't want to use their hearts when they're walking. No, you have to use your ears and you have to use your eyes and you have to use your heart when you're walking, right? So listen. In other words, when you're using your ears, you listen for guidance when the guidance comes to you. When the message of the Prophet ﷺ reaches you, listen. And when the signs of Allah are around you, you look. Use your eyes and look for the signs of Allah around you that will point you to Allah. And then let those signs and that message impact your fu'ad, your af'idah, your hearts. Let it impact it so that your hearts can melt and you can have the nur of iman in your heart so that you can worship Allah and believe in only Allah. This is how you walk. So first of all, Allah told us where to walk. He made the earth dhalul. He tamed it for us, gave us a place to walk. Okay. Then He told us how to walk, right? Now, and of course, He told us you're going to walk with a purpose. You just don't walk aimlessly. You walk with a purpose. That's how you walk on a straight path. We discussed about this. But now the question is, okay, you're walking. You have a good place to walk. You have a purpose. You're walking with a mission. You're walking upright. But where are you going? You have to be going somewhere. You can't just walk aimlessly or in a roundabout manner. You have to be heading somewhere. You have to have a destination. So Allah tells us in this ayah, وَإِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. That's your destination. Your destination is you'll be gathered before Allah. You'll be resurrected before Allah. That is your destination. Your destination, my destination, is with Allah. Subhanallah. So you see, you have a place to walk, you have a purpose with which you're walking, and you have a way in which you're supposed to walk, but don't forget where you're going. That's also important. It's not just about walking, it's about where you're headed. You can be walking purposefully, but you're headed in the wrong direction. No, Allah is saying, no, walk purposefully to the right direction, to the correct direction, where Allah is. So, إِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. Do not forget that to Him you shall be gathered. After all, He's the one who dispersed you in the land, isn't it? هُوَ الَّذِي ذَرَأَكُمْ وَإِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. So even don't be deluded thinking that I will go as far away on this earth that Allah will not find me. You think Allah will not find you on His earth that He tamed for you. You think He will not find you? He will find you wherever you are. وَإِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. Even if you go and die in Mars, even if you die in space, I don't care where you die, Allah will find you. وَإِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. All of this, after all, how did this surah begin? بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْكِ. All of it is His. All of it. It doesn't matter where you are. You can't hide from Allah. It all belongs to Allah. Subhanallah. So we walk on this earth, but our destination is with Allah. This is the stark reminder of this ayah. And we shouldn't lose focus on where we are going. We are going to Allah. Now, if we put all the meanings of dara'a together, then, or rather, if we put it from ansha'a, ayah number 23 and ayah number 24, if we put them together, what do we have? We have هو الذي أنشأكم. He is the one who created you, brought you to maturity. Then he spread you and populated you all over the earth. And he planted you firmly. Yani he established you. And he gave you stability on this earth. And finally, he aged you. He gave you white hairs. Your head has now gone white. And what comes next? Death. إليه تحشرون. You die. You're gathered back to him. In just these two ayat, the entire human cycle is depicted. Subhanallah. Like, how deep is that? Anyway, so that's ayah number 24. Let's look at ayah number 25. And these ayat are very, we're going to go quickly over them because I didn't gather so many notes on them. So inshallah, we'll be able to finish up to ayah number 27. So ayah number 25, Allah says, ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. So after being given proof, after Allah telling the Prophet ﷺ to tell them about their entire life cycle and what's going to happen, what do they respond with? What is it that they say, this mushrikun of Makkah? Yani, it's so amazing. They say, when is this so-called meeting with Allah? Allah is telling the Prophet to tell them, you're going to be gathered before Allah. Do not forget that. It doesn't matter how far you are on the land. It doesn't matter how spread you are. You will go back to Allah. And their response is, when is this so-called meeting, huh? If in fact you're telling the truth, then you must surely know when it is, right? You can't just be speaking about things that you don't know when it's going to happen. So they mock. They ask mockingly. And because they have rejected the entire process, they didn't even hear. Remember, Allah says He's the one who gave you what? Hearing, sight, and hearts that have emotion and feeling. They didn't even hear. They forgot to see. They were busy looking down. أَمَّنْ هَذَا الَّذِي يَمْشِي أَفَمَنْ يَمْشِي مُكِبًّا عَلَى وَجْهِهِ. They were busy looking down. They were not seeing. They were immersed in delusion. إِلَّا فِي غُرُورٍ. And they insisted on their arrogance. عُتُوٍّ وَنُفُورٍ. And nufur, they kept fleeing away from the truth. In fact, they used to plug their fingers inside of their ears when they hear the Quran. And they would sing like so that they don't even hear anything of the Quran. Like how, subhanallah. Look at the level of rejection. And we shall talk about the level of rejection soon. Right? So this is how the disbelievers were. They were deaf. They were blind. They lacked the sensitive hearts with which they could see the truth. And they kept placing obstacles on their path. We talked about this. أَفَمَنْ يَمْشِي مُكِبًّا عَلَى وَجْهِهِ. Yani the path is not even talked about because it's such a treacherous path. Because these people are walking a very difficult path and they don't even see it. They don't even feel it. Subhanallah. And they kept running away from the true path. They keep seeking out these different treacherous paths. So now they think that they don't have to go back to Allah because they're deluded. They think that this is just some fairy tale. And so they mock. They mock those who are going to Allah, those who are certain that they're going to Allah. In their delusion, they think the rest of us who are going to Allah are insane. They are the only ones who are sane. You see how delusion works? And even I'm sure you've encountered this even today. So they ask, if you guys are telling the truth, then at the very least, tell us when this so-called meeting, gathering with Allah is. I mean, you don't know? You don't know when it's going to be? Then how can it be true? See their logic? Their logic is if you don't know, then it's not true. This is their logic. And atheists today, they pose the same question. They have the same problem. For them, you see, they have to know. In order for them to believe, they have to know. But as Muslims, we have already established the reality is that we don't need to know to believe. We just have to believe in Allah. Allah is the one who knows everything. هو العليم الخبير. He's the one who is all knowledgeable. He's the one who's all aware. هو اللطيف الخبير. He's the one who's subtle and all aware. We mentioned this in this surah. ألا يعلم من خلق? Doesn't the one who created not know? Allah is the one who knows. We've accepted that reality for us. We have submitted, as Muslims, we have submitted to this reality. We have surrendered our nafs to the idea that Allah is the one who knows everything. But an atheist does not surrender to this idea. He surrenders to the idea that I must know, that my nafs must have that knowledge in order for me to submit. Do you see? Because for them is, how do you know that God exists? You have to prove to me that God exists in order for me to believe. And we Muslims, we say no. We don't have to know. Knowledge is not with us. Allah gave us very little knowledge. Yeah, whatever knowledge we have, we submit to it and we surrender our souls to the all knowledgeable one. So this is the difference, right? And that's why, they're like, oh, we have to use science. But even the science itself is not complete knowledge. Even the science itself is incomplete. Every single day they discover something new. And whatever they had mentioned before, they're like, oh no, this is not true. So they keep, reworking the science itself. And yet they claim, oh, science is what we believe in. You believe in science and it's not even complete. It can't explain everything to you. What is this delusion that you're living in? So the idea is that they will never believe, not because of science, it's because of their own egos. They will not submit to the reality that they do not know. They will not accept that they do not know. You see that problem? As Muslims, we accept we do not know. We accept Allah is the one who knows everything. We accept that I do not have to explain everything. I just have to accept. That's our reality as Muslims. Anyway, so now let's look at this word they use. متى هذا الوعد? They used وعد. وعد means promise. It literally means promise. So they're asking, when is this promise that you keep promising us? But here's the question. Is Allah promising them something good? Or is Allah threatening them with something? I mean, in section 2, Allah painted for us a very vivid, scary image of Jahannam. Jahannam was breathing and it was boiling and it was so scary. So this is not something nice you're being promised with. You're being threatened here. And they're saying, when is this promise? So we expected them to use the word wa'id, which means a threat. When is this threat that you keep threatening us with? Because the Quran is literally threatening them with punishment, right? So we expected them to say, when is this threat that you keep threatening us with? Instead, they say, when is this promise? As if they're expecting something good, right? So why did they use promise instead of threat? Now, scholars mention two reasons here. Now, since they are mockingly saying this, it's not like they're saying it out of genuine question. They're not asking genuinely. They're mocking this reality. So they're actually asking about not the threat that they are being threatened with. No. They're asking about the promise of Jannah that the so-called believers are promised with. In other words, they're looking at the Prophet ﷺ and his followers and they're saying, okay, so you guys are promised Jannah, huh? Okay, fine. Tell us, when is this promise of yours of Jannah, when is it going to come? We want to see. I mean, fine, you keep telling us we're going to Jahannam, fine, we accept. We don't have a problem going to Jahannam. But what about you? When are you going to go to Jannah? We want to see you going to Jannah. Do you see the mockery? It's not that they just reject. They want to belittle the whole concept. They want to put it down so little. Like, when is this promise? You're going to get Jannah? Let's see it. Bring Jannah here to us. And we shall see it shortly in some of the ayat of the Quran that captures this type of mockery. Yeah, where they ask the Prophet ﷺ to bring the Jannah, right? And secondly, the scholars also mention that for a promise is something by its nature, something that must be fulfilled. When I promise to do something, I must fulfill my promise. So a promise is not complete unless it is fulfilled. Like, it's a two-part thing. You promise and then you fulfill the promise. But a threat is something that can be withdrawn, something that can be taken away. A king can threaten you with death, for example, but then he can pardon you. He can say, I forgive you. The threat can be withdrawn. But a promise, you have to fulfill it. You cannot say, I promise to do this, and then you're like, no, I take back my promise. What do you mean you take back your promise? You cannot take back your promise. You promise, you have to fulfill it. So a promise in nature has to be fulfilled. So when they use this word, they are asking mockingly, if in fact, if this is a promise that you keep promising us, then fulfill it. It's very simple. You keep promising us, oh, the punishment is coming, then fulfill it already. We want to see it. Let the sky fall down. Let the earth swallow us. Bring this punishment. Do you see the kind of mockery that they're saying? Subhanallah. Like, bring it. They're asking for it to come. And we shall see it in the next ayah. It will be said to them, this is what you used to call for. This is what you used to claim was false. You used to invite this punishment. You'll be like, oh, bring it, bring it. That's what you used to say. Now it is here. What do you think? Subhanallah. You see the level of rejection that the mushrikun of Makkah had, the mockery, the denial, the belittlement that they did. It makes you understand the anger that Jahannam has for them in the second section. Like, the Jahannam is so angry, and you're like, what did these people do? And then you read some of these things and you're like, wow, maybe I understand a bit. Maybe I understand why Jahannam is so angry with them, because how can they say things like this? How can they mock? I mean, even if you don't believe, fine, you don't believe, don't mock it. You never know, maybe it's true, you know? So it's a very dangerous type of game that they're playing. May Allah protect us. Anyway, ayah number 26. Allah says, Qul. Again, the Prophet ﷺ is being told, say, إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَإِنَّمَا أَنَا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. Go tell them. They ask when the promise is. Tell them the knowledge is with Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ is being told, I am only a clear warner. I'm just here to warn. Okay? So that's the response the Prophet ﷺ is directed to tell them. You don't need to know. Your problem is not that you don't know. Your problem is that you don't submit to the one who knows all. Your problem is that you don't accept that Allah is all knowledgeable, that the knowledge is with Allah. You don't want to submit to that. And we covered this. We said in the previous section, Allah said, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. Doesn't the one who created know? Right? So Allah knows. That's your problem. You don't want to accept that Allah knows. You want to be the one to know. Your ego is so big that you think you deserve what Allah knows. Subhanallah. How arrogant are you to think that? Can't you just trust that Allah knows? Can that be enough for you? Can't you take comfort in the fact that He is keeping the knowledge of this great promise safe with Him and only Him to Himself? Now, imagine for a second if we all knew the exact date of the hour. Let's give a ridiculous example. Let's say that it was 5 billion years from now. Like, we get revelation. Allah tells us 5 billion years from now, Day of Judgment. How does that make you feel? You'll be like, but it's so far away. What? 5 billion? Like, it doesn't even sound real. Like, it's so far away that it starts to feel invented. Starts to feel, I don't know about this. 5 billion years ago. Are you sure? Like 5 billion? Are you sure about this? Perhaps you might even stop believing altogether because it's just so distant, so far away. What if you were told it was in 10 years? 10 years from now, Day of Judgment. How would you behave? You might think, well, I kind of have some time to repent. I think I better do what I need to do now. And then maybe like 2 years from Day of Judgment, I'm going to do proper repentance. Like, I'm going to stay in the masjid. I'm going to worship Allah like I've never worshipped before. But for now, let me just enjoy life. Because it's 10 years. I mean, I have like time, yeah? So you might think like that. Or what if you knew it was 2 years from now? What if it's 2 years from now? Then you might start repenting. You'll be like, oh, I don't have time. I need to do it now. I need to learn some stuff. I need to memorize some Quran, memorize some hadith, do some charity, do something. Because, I don't know what my situation is with Allah. I need to, yeah? But the question then becomes is, how is that fair? What about somebody who lived 5,000 years ago and they lived righteously and they did everything that they did? And you have another person who lived 2 years before Judgment Day and they lived their maybe most of their lives in the worst possible way, and 2 years to Judgment Day, they're repenting and they're the best Muslim. How is it fair to the guy who lived 5,000 years ago? It's not fair. Is it fair? No, it's absolutely not fair. But Allah is al-adl. Allah is the just. He's the most fair. So it is a rahmah from Allah that we don't know the day of judgment. And it is fair for every generation from Adam all the way to the last man on this earth. So that it is fair, so that we all put in efforts based on urgency, based on purpose. We live purposefully based on our own circumstances, not because tomorrow is the judgment day, I better do istighfar. No. You see the point? So that we can all walk upright on the straight path. Now, the Prophet ﷺ is being told to say what? إِنَّمَا أَنَا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. I am just a clear warner. Right? So the Prophet's mission is to just inculcate in us this sense of urgency, to tell us the purpose of why we are here, to warn us, to give us a warning. He is just a warner, to give us the message, to deliver to us the warning of the promise of the day of judgment. This is his mission, right? His mission is not to tell us details like, it's going to be. In fact, even if you look at the ayat, the signs of the day of judgment, they're not very detailed. I mean, some of them have like some details, but it's not so very detailed. It's very ambiguous here and there. That's not his job. His job is not to tell us exactly when, what, how, what. None of that. He has submitted and surrendered to Al-Alim, and we too must follow his example and submit to Al-Alim. So now, because of the delusion and arrogance of the mushrikeen, they mock and they ask, when is this coming? When is it going to happen? Yeah. But let's understand, and of course, in the next ayah, that's when we realize the day comes. So they actually see the day that it has come. They were mocking it, now it comes, and we shall explain that in the next ayah. But first, let's talk about this al in al-ilm. Okay, I told you that Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ to say, قُلْ إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Right? The knowledge is with Allah. So scholars have mentioned that this al in al-ilmu can be understood in two ways. It can either be jinsiyah or ahdiyah. Let me explain. Forget about these terminologies. Okay. So it can either refer to knowledge as a whole, like the idea of knowledge, like a masdar. Like if I say knowledge, education, guidance, protection, all these are ideas, right? They are ideas. In English, we don't say the protection. We don't say the guidance. We don't say the knowledge. We just say knowledge. But in Arabic, we have to have that al-ilmu, al-huda, at-taqwa, at-ta'aleem. There's that al that makes it an idea, a masdar, right? So that's one way of understanding. And how do we understand the ayah in that sense? Then Allah is saying all knowledge, the idea of knowledge itself is with Allah. That's one understanding of al-ilm. قُلْ إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ. Forget just the knowledge of the hour, but all knowledge about everything else is with Allah. You are asking about this one tiny little thing? Forget that. Allah has knowledge of everything, all things. So that's one understanding of al-ilm. The other understanding is if it's ahdiyah, al-ahdiyah. And for you to understand this, I need to give you an example, right? For example, if I said, Aisha bought a book. The cover is green. When I say the cover is green, what am I referring to? Am I referring to all covers of all books? No, I'm referring to the cover of this book that Aisha bought. Because I have already mentioned that Aisha bought a specific book. They bought this book, right? You had never heard about this book. This is the first time you're hearing about the book. So I said a book. Aisha bought a book because it's a new thing to you. You've never heard about it. Then I said the cover, yani the cover of the book is green. Do you understand? The cover of the book is green. So of the book, I did not mention. I just said the cover is green. So what the scholars are mentioning here is that it's actually mudaf ilayhi, and the mudaf ilayhi is omitted. Yani it's supposed to be ilmu as-sa'ati, because they were mocking what? They were mocking the day of judgment. So the knowledge of the day of judgment is with Allah. Or ilmul hashri, the day of gathering, the knowledge of the day of gathering is with Allah. So either it's specific to the day of judgment or it's just every knowledge. That's the idea. So either it's meaning that all knowledge belongs to Allah or is with Allah, or the knowledge of the day of judgment is with Allah. And both of them apply actually. Both of them are correct because the knowledge of the day of judgment is with Allah, and all knowledge in generality is also with Allah. That's how you understand that al in al-ilm. Okay. Maybe understanding the concept, and I would appreciate correction if that's the case. So I sometimes wonder whether belief in Allah is meant to rest solely on knowledge that has reached us, or whether there is also a dimension of the heart recognizing deep within itself that He alone is worthy of worship. What led me to this thought is the story of Ibrahim in Surah Al-Baqarah when he asked Allah how He brings the dead back to life. Allah asked him, do you believe? And he replied, yes, but this makes me wonder whether there's a distinction between knowing something to be true and having the heart find complete tranquility in the truth. I'm not sure if I'm understanding this correctly, but I thought, yes. So this is the idea of yaqeen. So you have 3 levels of yaqeen. You have ilmul yaqeen, you have aynul yaqeen, and then you have haqqul yaqeen. In fact, we shall talk about aynul yaqeen shortly, right? So ilmul yaqeen, you have the knowledge. So the knowledge gives you some sense of conviction, some sense of iman, because you have the knowledge. You have the knowledge of how something works. You believe it, right? And then you have aynul yaqeen. This is where you actually see something with your own eyes. Like when Musa parted the sea, and the Banu Israel, they saw the water parting. This is aynul yaqeen. Whether somebody told you, they saw it with their own eyes. So it's different from if knowledge came to you about like for us, we have ilmul yaqeen as far as this incident is concerned. We have knowledge that the sea parted. It's knowledge. So we believe in it because we have that knowledge. It might not be a high level of iman because we didn't see it with our eyes. But imagine Banu Israel when they saw it with their eyes. Ooh, that was something else, right? That's aynul yaqeen. You experienced it. You saw fish. They were swimming and then they were turning back. Like water took a shape like a wall. That was something else. That's aynul yaqeen. You saw it with your eyes. And then you have haqqul yaqeen. This is the highest form. This is where you experience something beyond. Like this is where you know it in your heart, right? And so when Ibrahim was asking, he wasn't just asking for ilmul yaqeen. He was asking for ainul yaqeen and haqqul yaqeen. Like he was asking for a higher level of conviction, a higher level of iman, if you will. So yeah, it's in levels, it's in stages. First you get the knowledge, then you see it for yourself, then you experience it. And once you experience it, that's the game changer. And I think this is a by the way, but since you brought it up, I'm just going to mention, I think we live in very interesting times where we need haqqul yaqeen more than any other time that yani in history. Why? Because right now you cannot trust the knowledge with you. You cannot trust the eyes that you have. What you see can be distorted. We're talking about AI videos that look so real that you're like, wait a second, this feels real. You're doubting your own eyes. Subhanallah. Imagine what AI is going to do in the next couple of years. AI is going to control what we know. Our knowledge is going to control what we see. So what we're going to have to be left with is haqqul yaqeen. You just have to know deep down in your heart that Islam is the truth. Otherwise, I don't know what Islam is going to look like in the next couple of years with AI. It's scary, to be honest. I am scared. But we cannot give up. We have to have hope in Allah and ask Allah for khair. But that's what we need right now. We need haqqul yaqeen. And I'm actually doing a study on Surah Al-Haqqa right now. And this is really coming up a lot. Inshallah, when we get there, we'll discuss it. Anyway, so that was by the way. So the Prophet ﷺ, let's go back. The Prophet ﷺ is being told, وَإِنَّمَا أَنَا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. My purpose, my mission is to just be a clear warner, to make it very clear to them as far as this matter is concerned. Now, the Prophet ﷺ did not come claiming that he knows when it is or details about it. No, the Prophet ﷺ just came to warn us about this imminent event. Just like previous prophets, they warned their people about the Day of Judgment. It's what it is. They just came to warn. Now, let me give you an example, right? A man that you trust and know since they were a child, like you have known this person inside and out, they come to you running and they tell you, look, there's an army that is coming and they're coming to attack your town and you should leave immediately. You know this person very, very well. You trust them since you were a kid. They were a kid. They have never lied to you a day in their lives, not once. What should your reaction be? How should you react to this message? A normal person would be like, yeah, I trust you. Let me pack and leave. I am not going to risk it. Start packing my stuff, start getting what I need, and I leave because I stand no chance with this army, right? What you do not do is stop and ask questions like, when will this army arrive? Is it in the morning or during lunchtime or during the day or like in 2 hours, 5 hours? Do you think maybe tomorrow or what color of jacket are they wearing? Is it gonna be yellow, red? Are they carrying a black banner or a red banner? Like what situation? Are they coming with tanks? Or is it like a push of the button where they throw missiles? Like what? You don't ask these questions, okay? So this is what the Mushrikun of Makkah were doing. The Prophet ﷺ is coming to them with an urgent message that the day of judgment is fast approaching. You need to fix your situation right now. And they return and respond with, when is it? When is it happening, huh? Is it tomorrow? Is it 10 days from now? When is it exactly happening? Subhanallah. Do you realize the situation? Like they take urgency and they just make it to be nothing. Allah, the stupidity of the mushrikun. They ask such unnecessary questions in a time of urgency, and when those questions only do them harm. Okay? All right. So let's go to, so that's the end of ayah number 26. Let's go to ayah number 27. We're going to stop at ayah number 27. So let's just talk about it a little bit. Allah says, فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ زُلْفَةً سِيئَتْ وُجُوهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَقِيلَ هَذَا الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ بِهِ تَدَّعُونَ. So when they see it approaching, their faces, they turn gloomy and they turn sour. وجوه الذين كفروا وقيل, and it is said to them, هذا الذي كنتم به تدعون. This is what you used to claim was false. This is what you used to call for to come. You were like, bring it. This is it. Subhanallah. First of all, let's start talking about the Mahdi. Allah says, فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ, when they saw it. When they saw it, it hasn't happened. So why is the Mahdi being used? They will actually see it in the future. So here's the idea. This Mahdi is used for certainty, as if it has already happened. Like it is so certain to happen. You guys are mocking it, you're doubting it, you're rejecting it, you're dismissing it, you're belittling it. But it is so certain to happen. So certain as if it has already happened. That's how certain it is. You know, like you cannot doubt the past because it has happened. So why are you doubting something that has, and it's almost as if it has already happened? Do you see? Even the language itself is so certain and urgent. Anyway, so after the mushrikun have mocked the promise, and they have mocked the Prophet ﷺ and his followers because they said, in kuntum sadiqeen, if in fact you are truthful. When they say, if in fact you're truthful, they're not just mocking the Prophet, the day of judgment. They are also mocking the Prophet ﷺ. They're saying, you're not truthful. That's why it's not happening. You're not truthful. That's why you don't know. And it's not just the Prophet ﷺ, even his followers, us. They're mocking us as well. Like, why are you following this thing and you don't even have knowledge on it? Subhanallah. So after their mockery, now, when the day of judgment is approaching, when the promise has come, they see it with their own eyes. Now it's Ainul Yaqeen. We just talked about that. Now, they cannot deny their eyes, can they? Now they can see it with their own eyes. Now there's no rejection. Now there's no denying it, belittling it. They see it with their own eyes. Subhanallah, what they were asking for, what they were calling for to happen. And now it has come. فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ زُلْفَةً. And now you can see the traces, how their face just changed. Because, you know, somebody, you can tell the reaction of a person, you know, on their face. When they see something they like, you can almost see a smile forming. When they see something they dislike, you can see their face, it would turn. Same thing, Allah captures this very subtle moment of this mushrikun, of this kuffar, when that promise is approaching and they actually see it with their own eyes, their faces just turn, their faces change. Now they cannot reject it anymore, right? So the knowledge, it comes to them at this point, but it comes at a very painful cost. And it is too late for them to change. Now it's too late. They cannot do anything. Another question that I was asking myself is, how is it close by? When some nations that rejected Noah, Lot, all these previous nations that rejected and were punished, how is it close for them as well? Like, I mean, for us, maybe we can say, okay, it's coming closer and closer. But for them, how is it close by? When some nations, they died ages ago, right? And still, we don't know when the day of judgment is. It doesn't feel close by, does it? It feels very far away. Now, in order to answer this, we must ask another question. When does the promise of punishment for the disbeliever begin? It begins at the time of death. Not at the time of the death when they're about to die. That's when it begins. That's when they see the angels with stern, angry faces approaching. The angels, they come with very gloomy, very scary faces, right? And so obviously when a disbeliever sees this and it's approaching, their faces are going to turn. But at that point of death, they cannot speak, they cannot scream, they cannot tell you about what is happening. They see what is happening around them, but they have lost that ability. But their faces, we can see from their faces what is happening. We can see something changes on their faces. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen, but there are certain faces you see at the point of death and you're like, yeah, Allah protect me. Certain faces are so ugly. They, this person was probably handsome, but at the time of death, something happens. May Allah protect us from such bad endings. We ask Allah for very, very good endings, where angels welcome us with beautiful fragrances and smiles on their faces. That's what we want. So when their faces also turn gloomy, it's because of what they're seeing. They're seeing what is happening around them and they know what's about to happen and they can't stop it, right? So all we get is their expression on their face. See at wujuhul ladina kafaru. And then what happens at that point? Qila, it is said to them. What is it? What will be said to them? This is what you used to claim as false. You said this would not happen? Well, guess what? It's happening, isn't it? You call this a lie, right? But here we are. Is it a lie now? Does it look like a lie to you? Or if we look at the other meaning of tad'un, this is what you used to call for. This is what you used to invite, right? You used to invite this thing. You used to call for it to happen. You were like, bring it on. We want to see it. How about now? Do you see it now? Do you feel it? Subhanallah. See at wujuhul ladina kafaru. You can only see it on their faces. We don't know what's happening inside of them. Allah just captured their faces, but what is happening inside of their hearts, Allah only knows. He is, after all, Al-Alim, and they rejected the fact that Allah knows all. This is what they get. And we, of course, talked about the meanings of Tad'un having dual meanings. I don't want to repeat what I've said here before. So it has two meanings. Either it means to call for something, yeah, or it means to consider something false, to claim something to be false. So those are the two meanings. It's like, you know, they used to mock the Day of Judgment. And it's like they're being told, oh, so this is what you used to claim was lies, and you called for it to happen? Well, here it is. How are you liking it now? And before that, Allah mentioned something else. He said, فَكَيْفَ كَانَ نَكِيرٌ. How terrible my warning was. How's my warning now? How is it feeling? Huh? How's the warning? How's the punishment? How's your rejection feeling now? Now that you're testing it, now that you're seeing it with your own eyes. You haven't even tested it, by the way. They just saw it with their eyes. And already things are happening. Already their faces are turning gloomy. We don't know what's happening internally. Subhanallah. فَكَيْفَ كَانَ نَكِيرٌ. How terrible my warning was. How terrible the rejection of Allah was. Subhanallah. And I really want you to appreciate what's being said here. Okay. But before we go there, let me see what's in the chat. Okay. I want you to really appreciate what's being said. in this ayah. So I want to share with you some of the other ayat where the kuffar from other nations, how they mocked the prophets, their prophets, and how they mocked the day of judgment. So for example, we have وَإِذْ قَالُوا اللَّهُمَّ إِنْ كَانَ هَذَا هُوَ الْحَقُّ مِنْ عِنْدِكَ فَأَمْطِرْ عَلَيْنَا حِجَارَةً مِنَ السَّمَاءِ أَوْ ائْتِنَا بِعَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. This is what the kuffar are saying. They're saying, they actually make a dua. They say, Allahumma, Ya Allah, if this is in fact truth from you, فَأَمْطِرْ عَلَيْنَا حِجَارَةً, then rain upon our stones. How can you say something like this? It's so remarkable what the kuffar, the arrogance, the boldness that they have to even demand. You make a dua and you ask Allah to rain stones upon you. That if in fact this is true, okay, if in fact this is true, then let it rain stones. And then you look up and you see no stones and you're like, see, it's not true. This is the delusion that the kuffar are living in. Or they say, أَوْ ائْتِنَا بِعَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ, or bring us this painful punishment that you keep warning us about. Bring it. We want to see it. So you see the kind of mockery that they had. And then in another place, um, Lut is telling them, أَإِنَّكُمْ لَتَأْتُونَ الرِّجَالَ وَتَقْطَعُونَ السَّبِيلَ وَتَأْتُونَ فِي نَادِيكُمُ الْمُنكَرَ. Do you really lust after other men? You abuse the travelers and practice immorality openly in your gatherings. We are living in those times. SubhanAllah, may Allah protect us. And how did the people respond? What was their response? فَمَا كَانَ جَوَابَ قَوْمِهِ إِلَّا أَنْ قَالُوا. The response of his people was nothing but when they said, ائتنا بعذاب الله إن كنت من الصادقين. Bring us this punishment of Allah if in fact you're truthful. Same thing, if in fact you're truthful. The Prophet ﷺ is being told, if in fact you're truthful, bring it. Lut was also told, if in fact you're truthful, bring it. Subhanallah. Look at the language that they're using. In another place they say, قالوا أجئتنا لتأفكنا عن آلهتنا فأتنا بما تعدنا إن كنت من الصادقين. Have you come to turn us away from our gods? Can't you see we are devoted to these gods and we are worshipping them, and you have come to turn us away from our gods? How dare you? Bring us then whatever you threaten us with, if what you say is in fact truthful. Subhanallah. They mocked. And they mocked in so many different other places that I could not quote here. In Surah 10, 21, 34, 36, so many other places. They mentioned this, right? And they actually mock the day of judgment. They say, أَإِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا وَعِظَامًا أَإِنَّا لَمَبْعُثُونَ. If we die and we become dust and bones, are we going to be resurrected? Surely that's going to happen. أَوَآبَاؤُنَا الْأَوَّلُونَ. Even our forefathers, those that died hundreds, thousands years ago, they're going to be resurrected? I don't know about this. وقالوا, and they said, ما هي إلا حياتنا الدنيا نموت ونحيا وما يهلكنا إلا الدهر وما لهم بذلك من علم إن هم إلا يظنون. And they say, what is this life? This life is just, the life of the dunya. We die, we eat, we live, and nothing destroys us except time. Only time destroys us, I mean, at the end of the time, I'm going to die. When my time comes, I will die. It's only time. It's only a matter of time. We say this. It's only a matter of time, right? This is their argument as well. They're like, no, there's nothing to do with God here. It's just time, وَمَا لَهُمْ بِذَلِكَ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يَظُنُّونَ. And they have no knowledge whatsoever of that. They're just making speculations. They're just speculating here. Now I'm gonna give examples of Quraysh specifically, the Mushrikun of Mecca specifically. In Surah Al-Isra, they ask the Prophet ﷺ mockingly, and they say, وَقَالُوا لَن نُؤْمِنَ لَكَ حَتَّى تَفْجُرَ لَنَا مِنَ الْأَرْضِ يَنْبُوعًا. We will not believe in you until you bring forth springs from the earth. We want to see springs from the earth. So obviously they live in Mecca. Their priority is water. It's a desert. So they want to see springs. I mean, if you claim that you are truthful and you come with miracles and you are a prophet and whatnot, why don't you just pop some springs over here? We want to see like springs of water. Do that. Oh, and they didn't stop there. They were like, أو تكون لك جنة من نخيل وعنب. So see, they're mocking the Jannah. We said that one of the meanings is that they're mocking the promise of Jannah. So they're telling the Prophet ﷺ, or maybe you can have a garden. Like you talk about this garden with greenery and fruits and, birds and all these different things in Jannah. Why don't you have that here? If you're in fact the prophet and you've been sent by Allah, have that here. And you can have min nakhilin wa inabin, you can have palm trees, you can have grapes, you can have rivers flowing in it. Why don't you have that? I mean, you keep promising that we will have this in the next life. Why don't you just have it now? They didn't stop there. They were like, أو تسقط السماء كما زعمت علينا كسفا. Or why don't you just drop the sky on us? Like you keep promising us, you keep threatening us that, you know, the sky is going to drop. Why don't you just do that then? Subhanallah. Look at the arrogance. And then they say, أو, they didn't stop there. أو تأتي بالله والملائكة قبيلة. Or why don't you just bring Allah and the messengers? Okay, fine. Like bring Allah. Let's see Allah. Let's see the malaika. Bring them. You claim to be a prophet? Go on. They didn't stop there. أو يكون لك بيت من زخرف أو ترقى في السماء. Or you can just have a house made of gold. Again, you see how materialistic they are? Like the points that they're making, it's not that they're making it out of conviction, they're making it out of mockery and arrogance. They're just trying to mock the Prophet. They're like, or you can just have a house made of gold. You can be rich. Why aren't you rich? You're the poorest person we know. Why aren't you rich? You can have a house of gold since you're a prophet. أو ترقى في السماء. Or you could just raise and levitate to the sky. We can see you rising all the way to the heavens. And they reveal the truth of the matter and they say, وَلَن نُؤْمِنَ لَكَ, and we will not believe in you. Sorry. وَلَن نُؤْمِنَ لِرُقِيِّكَ, we will not believe in your going to the heavens. So they tell him, why don't you just, if in fact you are a messenger and you're being sent revelation from Allah, then why don't you rise up and you claim to have gone Isra wal Mi'raj? Why don't you just do it? Let's see you rising up to the heavens. Let's see you with our own eyes. Don't do it at night when nobody's seeing. Let's rise, go to the heavens right now. And even if we see you levitating and floating and going to the heavens, we will still not believe in you, in your rising and you're going to the heavens, until you come back with a physical book that we can read. حتى تنزل علينا كتابا نقرأه, until you come back down with a physical book, not this Quran that comes out of your mouth. No, we want a physical book from Allah. Look at how, I am reading this and I'm saying, why? I mean, fine, you can just reject it in your heart, but you don't have to go to this extreme. Why are you going to this extreme? Subhanallah. So the Prophet ﷺ at the end of this ayah is being told, قُلْ سُبْحَانَ رَبِّي هَلْ كُنْتُ إِلَّا بَشَرًا رَسُولًا. The Prophet ﷺ is just being to respond like this. Just say Subhana Rabbi. Just say, my Rabb is exalted far above all this nonsense that you guys are claiming. Like, what is this nonsense? Allah is above all this, right? Subhana Rabbi. هل كنت إلا بشرا رسولا. Am I not just a human prophet? What are you asking me for? I'm a human being like you. I am here to just warn you. I'm not here to, like, I don't know, do these things that you want. And besides, I've come with a sign. Just because the sign is not exactly what you want, how you want it, when you want it, doesn't make it less of a sign. So they wanted specific signs, or this, or that, or that. But here's the thing, even if Allah gave them all those signs, do you think they would believe? They would not believe. And that's the point. The point is not for Allah to curate for you a sign based on your measurements. It's not Allah is not supposed to bend to your will. You're supposed to bend to Allah's will. That's the idea. That's the idea of submission. You submit to Him. He does not submit to you. So the Prophet ﷺ is being told, Subhana Rabbi, Allah does not submit to you. Allah is far exalted above this nonsense. You submit to Allah. Subhana Rabbi. We remove all negative associations of Allah. Allah is far above all this. Subhana Rabbi. The Prophet ﷺ is just being told one word. After all this, Subhana Rabbi. Yani, just do tasbih of Allah. Just glorify and exalt Allah. That's it. If you have the proper understanding of who Allah is, you won't even come up with this nonsense. You won't even let your tongue say things like this, right? So those are just examples of how the mushrikun, the kuffar, different parts of the Quran that captures some of their mockery. And of course, there's more that I haven't shared with you. And And just to finalize that, they used to mock, saying, if you are in fact truthful. Now they're being mocked back with, this is what you used to call for. You used to mock the Day of Judgment. You used to mock the Prophet ﷺ. Well, they're being mocked back and they're saying, okay, this is what you used to call for. Like the sarcasm in the Quran is so heavy. You can almost taste it, subhanAllah. They used to mock and now they're mocked back. Allahu Akbar. So what goes around comes back around at the end. And that brings us to the end of ayah number 27, inshallah. Yes, Surah Al-Dhariyat, verse number 8, precisely. Yeah. So we see all these different ways in which they used to mock. And Allah mocks them back. And Allah, you can see it. And of course, the way it comes back to them is far much worse. Far much worse. Anyway, may Allah protect us from such kinds of arrogance. And we ask Allah for Jannah, and we don't mock it. We ask Allah for whatever brings us closer to Him and to understanding His greatness, His magnificence, and His great exaltedness, His tasbih. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. That brings us to the end of ayah number 27. Inshallah, next week we shall do the Nahu and Sarf of 28 to 30. So we'll finish the Nahu and Sarf, and the week after that we'll finish the explanation of 28 to 30. So that's what is left with us. And inshallah, may Allah enable us to reach there. All right. That brings us to the end. In case, is there anything else, or can we end there? Okay.
Assalamualaikum, Sister Ilham.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
When they ask mata al-wa'd kan, I wonder because in Surah Al-Zariyat, or I can't remember which surah, they ask when it's like ayyana yawmuddin. So
Yeah.
where's the difference between the two?
Okay. So Dhariyat. So ayyana, mata is when. Ayyana also means when, but of course there's subtle differences between the two. And of course, here they ask mata hadha al-wa'd. And again, this hadha, mata, they could have just said mata al-wa'd, when is the promise? But they said mata hadha al-wa'd, when is this so-called promise? You can see the belittling, the attitude that they have. It's much more stronger, right? And in Surah Al-Dhariyat, what do we have here? أيان يوم الدين يسألون أيان يوم الدين. They ask mockingly, when is this day of judgment? But here you see it's not so. أيان هذا يوم الدين. When is this so-called يوم الدين? It's not as strong as in Surah Al-Mulk. Surah Al-Mulk is the mockery is stronger than here. Okay, so here it's a little bit less. And of course, every surah has its own degree of and I that matches very well with Surah Al-Mulk, because Surah Al-Mulk is all about showing Allah's mercy. It's all about the imagery of Jahannam was very vivid, and also the level of arrogance of the mushrikun is also very vivid. So it kind of matches. Like these people, they were exposed to Allah's mercy, and yet somehow they rejected it. And we will talk about that next time we do the explanation. Like you would see, like when Allah turns away, when Allah Ar-Rahman turns away from you, that's a big deal. Like how evil do you have to be for Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, to turn away from you? Like, do you understand what that means? So that's Surah Al-Mulk. It's very heavy. I haven't done the study of Surah Al-Dhariyat, but inshallah when I do, I will give you more information on this. But just at the top of my head, this is what I can already see. Like this one is not as intense as in Surah Al-Mulk. And of course, Ayana probably has a different flavor to Mata. And Yawmuddin also is different from the promise. They're mocking a promise, and we talked about what that means. And of course, Yawmuddin probably here might have different implications in this particular surah. Any other questions or clarifications? And I hope I answered you to the best of my ability. Okay, great. All right, that brings us to the end. I'm gonna stop there, inshallah. We'll see you guys next week for the Nahu and Sarf session. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Waalaikumsalam.